a Star Wars night. It's really awesome because we get to work together with the Rebel Legion. There's a whole Jedi lightsaber combat group as well. They put on a show. You know the 7th inning stretch? Yeah, it's not so boring now because the Jedi are out there doing their lightsaber battles. Yeah. And then at the end, they shoot off fireworks to the Star Wars theme music. I love the music. And also we get box seats. So if you join up with the 501st Legion, you get all kinds of cool access to stuff. Behind the scene, behind the stage with Weird Al Yankovic. Box seats to the Bay Sox games. And there's a whole bunch of other baseball teams that have invited us to come out and have their Star Wars night as well.
Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, we met George Takei.
That other universe.
Oh, he did Clone Wars.
He did?
Yes, Star Wars Clone Wars. He did. Yep.
Did he now?
Yes, he's a voice actor.
Except for that's not considered your vocal king.
But it's fun.
So, putting together a Star Wars outfit, you're going to learn all kinds of new talents that you didn't realize you had. So one of the things that I do is I actually have a vacuum forming table in my garage. So the original Stormtrooper armor was all vacuum formed by a guy named Andrew Ainsworth over in England. And he had this huge industrial vacuum forming table, and you have all these molds, you lay them out, and you heat up a sheet of plastic so it becomes nice and pliable like vinyl. You pull it down over top of your molds, and then you suck all the air out with vacuum. Kind of like outer space, right? Space is a vacuum. So you suck all the air out, and the plastic forms over top of the molds, taking that shape. And so when you look at your Stormtrooper over there, every single piece is vacuum formed. And the same thing with the Clone Troopers. Were there any real Clone Trooper costumes put together?
Nope.
No, they were all CGI. Where does that Clone Trooper come from? Same thing, from a vacuum forming table. So Clone Troopers, if you look at their anatomy, especially on the cartoons, wow, that doesn't work. Oh my goodness, where is that armor going? What are you doing? So wearing the Clone Trooper armor is very challenging, and putting it together is even more challenging because if you look at the Stormtrooper, he's got seams, right? They're covered up by little plastic strips, they're glued together, it's fine, not a problem. If you look at the Clone Troopers, there are no seams on that armor. If you look at the forearms, if you look at the legs, they are solid cylinder, not solid, but they are cylinders. There's no mold lines on the outside. So when you're choosing to put together a Clone Trooper armor, it's a bigger challenge. You get to learn to work with putty or what we call sludge. Sludge is a special mix of, what is that? Acetone and plastic shaving bits. You mix them up in a jar and they become goopy like paste, and then you fill in the seams between the pieces, kind of like Bondo. So you don't want to use Bondo, it's too brittle, it chips and breaks off, it doesn't look good. And then you sand this sludge smooth once it solidifies, and that's how you have seamless armor. So committing to Clone Trooper, that's actually recommended to be a maybe second or third outfits.
Or first for her.
Unless you're Captain Rex and decide, I'm just going for the awesome costume right off the bat. There is a whole Clone Troopers net forum as well, that you can get lots of advice, and they talk about the sludge as well as other parts of putting together the armor. What keeps the armor in place? What holds it in position? Yes. Duct tape is canon. Actually, technically, it's not duct tape, it's gaffer's tape, it's white gaffer's tape. If you look at your still frames of the Blu-rays, you will see gaffer's tape under the biceps and on the chest pieces, holding them together.
There's one on the calves as well.
And on the calves. But underneath the armor, just like those guys with silly knees bent prancing about, okay, there's a whole strapping system that holds the armor in position. So from the shoulder plates up high, there's snaps to hold the shoulders on, as well as the biceps to make sure they don't ride down and block your elbows. As well as the girdle to hold up your thigh pieces so that they're not falling down and blocking your knees as you're walking around. Now the other thing you have to be aware of, committing to the armor, after the troop you're going to have these little red marks all over you. Usually your elbows, behind your knees, up here on your shoulders and on your biceps, because those are called armor bites. So committing to the armor is not just financial, but they're going to take blood out of you too. So you need to custom fit the armor to you. There's some things that you can do to optimize it, kind of cut out the elbows a little bit to the forearms. You could hold out your arm, there we go. See how it's kind of a half moon shape on the inside of the elbow, so that way you can actually bend your arm. Same thing with your knees. You want to make sure this stuff fits right, so that you want to keep trooping, so that you're not, oh gosh, the thing hurts, I don't want to wear that anymore. Same thing with the Clone Trooper armor. So maybe Clone Trooper armor or Stormtrooper armor isn't the way you want to go. Maybe something a little bit more flexible, like a biker scout. Not as many hard pieces on a biker scout, right? Or the dancing snowtrooper over there. Look at that flexibility and movement.
You like velvet? velvet Royal Guards are really good to go too. You can sit down in that one, but you sweat a lot.
I find the Royal Guard helmet is a little bit.
You can't breathe. He needs to breathe anymore.
I think Guard's really awesome. He's totally standing still. He's passed out. That's sweet. So actually, one of our guys is a firefighter, professional firefighter, and he has the. It's not scuba when you're underwater, but he's got the extra breathing apparatus that he runs under his helmet to make sure that he has fresh air. So that may be one thing to consider. But the snow trooper armor, you've got chest plates, codpiece, you got your nice fancy helmet, and then your forearms and shoulders, and then you want to see something funny? Drop something in front of a stormtrooper nest. You can't even see it. A little bit over to pick it up. So, yeah, stormtrooper armor is awesome, but you may want to consider another member of the Empire as your outfit. The bounty hunters is pretty good too. They have unique armor. You notice that the paint job is kind of nicked and scratched. And that's actually, if you look at Star Wars, the whole universe is all banged up. It's all scratched, except for Princess Amidala's ship. But the rest of it, it's all banged up, it's all nicked and scratched because it's been it's been in combat, right? What happens in combat? Things get hit. So with clone trooper armor, if you're working with that plastic sludge and it's just not working out, turn it into a blast point. Ha-ha! I didn't do that. Excellent. That was totally intentional. As opposed to this bounty hunter who's very shiny.
Thanks for being Lori work.
He's got some dents on him.
Yeah,
Okay, dents.
a couple dents.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. There we go. Very nice. Some road crash. So my other outfit is a TIE fighter pilot. So that's got the chest plate, the back plate, and the giant helmet along with a pair of hoses. And put some fans inside the chest box to get you some fresh air. So you can chill out while you're trooping. It's very nice and very comfortable. You got a flight suit, and you can have a seat and relax between when you're taking a break. Seeing a clone trooper or a stormtrooper sit down, very dangerous.
So Rex, with some finagling, can sit down a little bit.
Yes, with a little bit of stretching. And a little bit
Of course, Lord Vader can sit down.
Not everybody gets to wear leather in the Star Wars universe. Many other outfits as well. The Tusken Raider. So that's all cloth. It's kind of jaggy and torn up. And
Did you give us your eyesight on that one?
yes, the eyesight is a little bit limited because you've got these little periscopes right in front of you. And if you want to get claustrophobic, put on one of these helmets or restrict your vision with these little periscopes. Literally, these guys cannot see anything 10 feet in front of them without doing the bird. Turn sideways.
There you go.
So that's another factor to be aware of. If you choose a clone trooper, though, there's a little bit better vision because you got the clear spot in front of your nose. The same thing with Boba Fett over there. Kind of a clear spot, so you got a better field of view. Or you can be an officer where. Very nice.
The biker scouts point of view is pretty good too. It's not nearly as restrictive as the rest. It's not as good as no faceplate, but it's you actually have a little bit of peripheral vision and a pretty good amount of up and down without having to look at it.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you the Royal Guard was good vision. So breathing and eyesight, don't worry about that.
Just for good. Yeah, you don't need that. The other cool thing with a biker scout is that the front visor, or the front safety plate, just rotates right up. So there you go, it's a convertible.
As long as you get the kit that does that.
Yes. Let's see, what else? So cool skills that you'll learn. You'll learn how to work with plastic, how to cut it, how to cut your fingers, how to glue your fingers together. I've got a vacuum forming table in my garage, and I actually make the Sand Trooper backpack. If we take a look at our Sand Trooper up here.
You see eyesight, you can't see.
Very dangerous. So here with the Sand Trooper backpack, there's a couple of basic shapes that we have. We've got the seed trays, which actually, at the planting store, you grow seeds inside there, you put them in the ground. So that's what we have as a base on the top and bottom. And then on top of that, there's the toolbox. We have the mushroom cap, mushroom. This is just a wet ones container. So use the wet wipes to clean up your work area and make a clean spot. Any ideas on what this thing is here? It's like a what?
Looks like a vacuum.
Vacuum, kind of. Yeah, it's kind of a valve. Any other guesses? To go. Kind of like a car intake. Yep, that's what some folks are thinking. So that's one of the challenges with the costumes is, what is that? What do the prop makers use? This is a toilet bowl refill valve. Well, you know you're out there in the desert, you gotta go. And this is a 1970s radio made by Sonics, the Sonics Victory 75. The coolest story I've got is I sold one of these backpack kits to a guy in Australia. He's putting it together. He's watching the Avengers TV show from the 1970s. And the bad guy comes into the scene, and what does he have in the crook of his arm? The radio. So, oh my gosh, so the hunt was on. Let's identify this thing. And everybody went around the world looking for this radio. Finally, this website called radiomuseum.org, it keeps track of all these classic radios. They identified it as the Sonics Victory 75. So now the hunt was on. Let's find one. And so somebody posted on the forum, hey, I'll pay $1,500 for this thing. Well, the radio guys were like, what's going on here? So they did some Googling, of course, and then they found the Sand Trooper website and said, oh, the Star Wars nerds. They're looking for that goofy piece of poop radio. Nobody could find it. So Todd, over here, he was just getting started with 3D printing. Anybody know about 3D printing? You gotta be able to do CAD drafting. So we work together. We find a nice high quality picture of the Sonics Victory 75 radio, and he creates the faceplate. We get it printed out as shapeways, we send it up here. I make a mold of it, I make my first casting in resin, I post it up on the board, hey, look what I did! Here's your really awesome, totally accurate radio. And then somebody over in England, the very same day, says, look what I found out of my junk store. Oh, you bastard. So I turned to Todd and I said, well, we gotta redo this thing because look at this really awesome picture, we're close, not quite there yet. So we redo the whole thing. Now Sand Troopers around the world, this was the coolest thing. So I'm at Star Wars Celebration 5 down in Orlando, Florida. I'm walking down the sidewalk and go to the big 501st celebration. That's the other cool thing, joining the 501st, you get to go to these cool extra activities that the regular public doesn't get to see. So there's this big dance thing, they got loud music, lights flashing, Han Solo and Carbonite. That'll be another story. And I'm wearing my Sand Trooper t-shirt, MEPD on the back, and I hear this funny voice say, MEPD, I know who that is. I said, oh wow, you're from Australia? Yeah. Well, I'm Crashman. Crashman? Oh my God, I'm ordering one of your radios. Imagine that, walking down the sidewalk and somebody recognizes you and knows you from across the internet. From Australia, and we meet in Orlando. That is bizarre. So that's the really cool thing about Star Wars costuming is it brings everybody together. You look at the room around here, right? Look at those folks all together. Everybody loves Star Wars, and it's a universal thing. It's amazing how it's integrated into the culture. And with Todd and his 3D printing, and now making this radio, Han Solo and Carbonite. Thank you, Trooper. So one of our most recent projects is Han Solo and Carbonite. There's a fellow who makes the front casting of the reproduction of Han, or Harrison Ford. Todd, with his magical 3D skills, he's got an arrangement with a company that will make the box, cut it out of CNC, or using CNC methods, cut it out of MDF, so you order the kit and bang, the box is ready to put together, just like a little 3D puzzle. You get the Han Solo, but now the side control panels. What is that piece? What is that product? What could it be? So again, just like the radio, right? The hunt was on to try to identify this thing. Finally, a couple years ago, somebody said, I know what it is. It's a Volvo dashboard panel turned inside out. How? A dashboard panel, the inside out. So we managed to find one of those, and now in my garage, I'm casting silicone to make replicas of this dashboard panel and casting in resin. And now we're selling them around the world to folks who want to build. And if you want one too, you know you want one. Solo and Carbonite. Everybody's got to have one. So that's what we're working on right now. What else do we got? Women in Star Wars. Is there a place for women in the Star Wars galaxy? In the first 3 movies, there really wasn't. Can women wear Stormtrooper armor? Captain Rex, if you would. Yes, they can.
We do not discriminate. If you want to do something, do it. The size, shape, no matter what. 501st will take you in if you want to do the armor.
Not every girl wants to be a princess.
I think that's all I got.
So do we have any questions then out there?
Yes.
Were any Jedis that we killed today?
Only if they're doing Blast Trooper.
Oh, we should have blasted Jedi.
Is there a membership fee or?
No, we're a nonprofit organization. One of our deals with Lucasfilm is that we cannot have any money whatsoever. So anything we do, any appearance you see us at, we're raising money for charity. Nothing comes into our hands. We don't hold it. It gets, just like today for the Travis Manning Foundation, we give it to John Morton because it's one of his foundations, and he'll give it to the charity organization. So there's no fees, no nothing. Just how much money can you spend?
Commitment to the armor.
What kind of legal hiccups came when Disney bought up Lucasfilm?
There really wasn't too many legal hiccups. Lucasfilm knew how good we do. And, like, you guys all see Mythbusters, right? The Star Wars special stuff like that. That's us. We're the guys in those suits. So one of the things Lucas realized is we're free advertising. We're out there giving the good fight. So one of the things he talked to Disney is, we want you to keep this around. They did shut down some other people and stuff like that, but for us, for Rebel Legion, and a couple other groups out there, they know us, they know how good of a job we do, they want us there. Again, Disney's an organization, it's free advertising for them.
Plus, there was already a relationship between the 501st and Disney.
Yeah.
The
Oh, that's
Star Wars
true.
weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida Garrison works, 10 years they've been doing that one, so yeah.
Those folks are crazy. I would go down there out of armor.
Did you guys ever do any like regimental drill or anything like that? And the other question I have is, do you allow the troopers to speak in uniform?
The only regimental drill I think we came close to was the Rose Parade, where Lucas asked us to submit videos of us trooping and stuff like that, because in the Rose Parade, what, 2007?
Yep.
They marched in the parade, that was all 501st people. So that was about the closest. I think there's some garrisons that are really strong into trooping and stuff like that that can do that, but we don't ask you to start marching and stuff like that. And then some troopers in there do have microphones and stuff in their helmets. Yeah. So they are free to talk. I get the question because I get these kids that trick me because I do the Royal Guard. They ask me to talk, and then when I do, they go, "Why did you speak? You don't speak in movies."
And you'll also see some of it's really the TIE pilots and the stormtroopers also, a lot of them will have little iPods in their inside, and they'll have loops where you'll hear, like, it's like radio chat. So, and then you'll hear like ID numbers being called out, and it's all actual 501st. I don't know who does it, I'm sure some of these guys can do it.
You're fine with that.
Yeah, and the TAD.
Yeah, sound waves are out there.
Is there an age limit? I have kids that like want to.
You have to be 18 for 501st, but we do have.
Is it possible for a parent to be involved and have their children involved in it?
The parent can be involved and students can be involved. We also, Alvin Johnson, our founder, decided he saw the need. There is an organization that we do as well called the Galactic Academy, which tailors for the kids that want to do costuming but aren't able to do full octave on the 501st. They can come out and troop with us as well and stuff like that. You know, the only ones that we'd have that they might not be able to do is the canon events where they want us to be as accurate as possible in the movies and stuff like that. But, yeah. But if you go to, like, I think it's galacticacademy.com, I think. I don't remember what but if you figure
Is it available on 501st.com?
I think they do have a link to it there and stuff like that. If you go on Old Line Garrison Facebook page and stuff like that, and you send me a message, we'll definitely give you the links and stuff like that.
And my daughter has iron registered, so I'll ask her a question. I just wanted to know about Tusken Raider outfits now. Is there like a group of them?
Their group is the Dintians of the Empire. They do have their own Empire as well, and I think they're Rebel Legion as well too.
And there's also a crossover there.
The Crate,
Krayt.
like the Crate Dragon from Tatooine.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're in there, so they're like dual membership, so you can go both, you know. But yeah.
Which is unfortunate because one of our members he does Asherah Head, who really is a Tusken Raider basically, but he's here, but he's not.
Yeah, he's not at the panel tonight. So. Look, you had a question right there? Or what?
All molds.
Yes. The question is, do we make our own molds? So the most ideal thing is to look at the lineage of the molds. So for the stormtroopers, because they were actually used on screen, the goal is to find an old set of armor, make molds from that, and then you can go ahead and clone that when you're selling your armor. The clone armor, however, there wasn't a real thing, so yeah, that's all got to be custom made from scratch. There's a couple of folks who make the clone trooper armor. There was a gentleman down in Florida for a while, has a gentleman in California, really cool guy. It's a lot of work to make the molds. You're going to use a lot of